Hello. Now we are going to start our journey building, basically implementing our agent. And as I said, we will have different steps on this process. And we are going to start with indexing our documents into the vector database. However, as part of this indexing, we will need to vectorize our documents. And in order to do that, we will need to call the ChatGPT OpenAPI API to get some embeddings, which is basically vectorize our data and system it in our vector database. So instead of starting from this part, we're going to actually start from the large language model, which in our case here, because we are going to use the ChatGPT, we are going to start implementing the OpenAPI client. Before we dive into the code, let's first visit the OpenAI API. And here on the openai.com, you can go to Products, API Login. If you don't have an account yet, you can just click here on Sign Up, but I have already, so I'll go straight Login. So when you are on the OpenAI platform, you have the ChatGPT and the API. So we are interested in the API. So this is the API area. So we start with the documentation. Here, what's all the, let's say, the functionality that's available. We are interested in the text generation to perform our LLM queries, and also the embeddings, which we are going to use to vectorize our documentation. We now gonna dive into dashboard. We'll go to API keys, and here we're gonna create a new secret API, secret key for our API. I already have mine here. When you create yours, you're gonna copy the API and then go into our code, and on the env environment variable here, we are gonna set the OpenAI key, and you just paste it here. Next step, I want to present you some files that I forgot to mention that you have here inside the core. You have the common here, and you have config, which I have configured some small things that we're going to be using. One of the things it is reading the OpenAPI key from that file and assign it for this variable, because that we're going to be using that in other part of our implementation. And also we reading here the OpenAPI model for ChatGPT 3 and 4. So we are going to be using both models because the ChatGPT 3 is more cheaper. So we are going to start our implementation with this model to save some money during the tests. And we have also handled some Redis connection here. And then you're going to be using those as part of this con, which will be retrieving the Redis connection. And another thing that I have added here already is this HTTP retry, which I have basically implemented a simple retry backoff that we're going to basically have in our API, not our API, but our ChatGPT client, to handle some errors, because it's basically we are going to apply some retry because the OpenAPI API, it's a bit unstable in some moments, so it's important to have some retries implemented. So I basically got this code from the internet, so it's not related to our agent development, so I will just provide it here for you, and you're going to be using that when you implement our OpenAPI client. When we are dealing with OpenAPI, they have some SDKs where you can use as well. I will implement that myself, just because I want to really show how it's under the hood of things. So when they're using SDK, it would be, let's say, hiding some important, let's say, concepts, and it would be, it would be hiding some stuff. So I will implement in that because I want to make sure you understand what is really going on, and eventually can even port all that to another language if you want, or anything like that. So that's basically that. The utils here, we have some base utils related to JSON code and some filtering that you're going to be using later. but it's a very basic code as well, so not related to the AI development. So I think it's okay to have it here already. So that's basically it. So let's basically start our implementation. I have created two folders inside the core because I'm gonna divide our logic into business logic part of things. So we're gonna have the search part and we're gonna have the LLM part of our basically domain. So that's how you should be structural code by domain, right? So the first things you're gonna be doing is basically implementing the open and API client. And we're gonna start with class open API client. And we're gonna have some basically there init. Which will, let's see what ChatGPT has added here. So yeah, we're gonna have open API key. You're gonna have the open API URL. I think I'm gonna have the open API URL hard coded here because it doesn't change very often. So, and whatever. Let's take this now, it doesn't make sense. I think that I want to pass as well as the model. And let's default it to ChatGPT Turbo. Yeah. I'm gonna have this stories as our model. What's the URL? You're gonna get this URL here. V1. And let's just have it as cell base URL. Really, it is not very smart today. What else? We are gonna need some headers. Yeah, headers. Bear token, and this token will be basically the so API. Yeah, so that's it for now. Another thing that you're gonna have, it's gonna have a method called predict. Not really correct this. Let's say we're gonna have messages, which are gonna be at least strings. Actually, dictionary. List. We think it's important. Yeah, let's have this for now. What else we'll need? So you have this. Yeah, the request exists. That request from requests. Let's just remove this bit. That was not correct. The first thing I think, let's create the, let's say, we're gonna, yeah, let's leave like this for now. Request response JSON, and you're gonna say, I'm gonna be posting to this base. Sometimes Python is with this indentation, but I can. So now you can have this base, and you're gonna just concatenate it with the endpoint that you want. So let's say, leave like that. Just say and let's create this endpoint like this. Not really correct, but leave like empty for now. And we're gonna, let's see, the data. message, temperature. Yeah. Let's park this for now, because what the one you are really interested is the get embedding. Embedding, that's the one we are interested at this point, because that's what we're gonna need in this phase. For the embedding, what you need is actually the data. We don't really have the option of model. You're gonna say input, and this is gonna be our input. Let's just very quick on this. Authorize, content, input, and the model. I have the model. In this case, the model is gonna be our content. Say then you're gonna just post it to the endpoint. The endpoint in our case is gonna be embeddings. Embedding. Yeah. Embedding. You can put the header. We basically, before returning the JSON, we're gonna confirm if that worked properly. So response, let's say stats code is different of 200. We're gonna throw one exception, let's say. Throw, no, this is not JavaScript, so, and you're gonna throw the text, whatever, it's returning, so you can capture it and handle it accordingly. We can return the JSON, or you can parse it better here. So let's see what the response. So it is embedded response to the have a container data, and then the data would have the embedding itself. So we want this embedding here. So let's extract that in here. Just JSON response. Let's say response JSON, and we are gonna say result put the array, and now we're gonna iterate over all the embeddings. Then before is the data, right? So we have data, it's an array, so we got the data array, and then we get the embedding from here. So we're gonna iterate over each in here, then get the embedding itself, and we append it to the result. So basically that, I think that's it, and then we return the results. I think that's basically it. This message here should be the input. We would be, now the input will be just a string. Input, it's showing what this message. It's a built-in, so let's just choose something else. Put that. String, and we result. You're gonna basically turn a list. Oh, the list of list actually. Yeah, so it's seen as a list. So basically, I think we have everything we need to connect to the Open API to get the embedding. Since we are here, let's look at the predict endpoint as well, and let's implement that. So embeddings, the other we are interested is the models, embeddings, text generation. Is it text generation? Completion. It's format. Yes, it's completion, but it doesn't really show how to access it without a SDK. This is using SDK. Okay, I'm gonna stop this video here, and then I'll come back with the right documentation so you can implement our predict operation using OpenAPI, no, OpenAI API. So that's OpenAI client. So basically that's more correct. Yeah, I hope it made sense. So we have implemented the embeddings following the documentation, and now we are gonna just look at find the documentation to implement our predict method. Okay, see you next lecture.